Hello everyone. So, how are you all guys doing? Now, I am Dr. Pooja, and so far you must be familiar with my face. I've been discussing biochemistry videos for the past 1-2 months with you, and as I have named my videos as lockdown series also. So far we have discussed about molecular biology, different processes involved in that, and in my last video I discussed about the chemistry of carbohydrates. Now today I'm going to take up again a very interesting topic plus a very important topic also, liver function tests. Now all of you know, like, liver is like a kitchen to our body. Whatever is cooked, it has to be eaten up by the liver or eaten up by us, and it has to be excreted out also. So the liver, being a chemical factory of the body, has so many important functions to perform. So liver function test is a series of tests which can actually predict out what damage is being done to the liver. So let's start with the today's discussion. Now see, liver is the largest organ of our body, weighing about 1.5 kgs, and it is also called the kitchen of our body. Whatever, whether it is synthesis, whether it is degradation, whether it is utilization, for everything, liver is involved. Like, suppose if one example is there, if we talk about carbohydrate metabolism. Now, all of us know, if we talk about this carbohydrate metabolism, glucose is stored to form glycogen, that too in the liver. So whenever glucose is required, this glycogen will be broken to release glucose, right? So you can say this is one example I'm taking. Suppose if we take the example of fats or proteins, whatever metabolism is happening, just suppose if we talk about protein, all of us know that alanine is a very important gluconeogenic amino acid which actually gives energy during starvation. So there exists a glucose-alanine cycle, which is again predominant in liver. Same is the case with fats. There is again a fatty acid Randall cycle. So liver overall, it plays so many important roles. Now the functions, obviously they will get deranged when liver is diseased. An assessment of functional status of liver generally requires these tests which are conducted or performed in the laboratories. Now, to name a few, what are the important multiple functions catalyzed by liver? Metabolic functions, like just now I told you, whether we see carbohydrate metabolism, whether we see fats, whether we see protein, whatever metabolism is there, it is linked with liver. Synthetic functions, it leads to the synthesis of so many important compounds. Excretory functions, it leads to the excretion also. Detoxifying functions, again very important. D means removal. Toxifying means removal of toxic into non-toxic ones. Similarly, storage functions. So overall, these are the functions which are performed by the liver. Then why these LFTs need to be performed? What is the use of, checking these liver function tests? First is, it helps in detection of the hepatocellular damage. Then a very important aspect is it distinguishes between different type of jaundice, and it evaluates the functional status of the liver, whether the liver is functioning properly or not. The lists of tests mainly done are serum bilirubin, very important, bile salts and bile pigments with excretion of urobilinogen in urine, the enzymes which appear in the serum proteins, again very important, albumins to globulin ratio, and PT, prothrombin time. So these are the major tests which are actually done to assess the hepatocellular damage of the liver. So first of all, we are going to take up serum bilirubin. Now, bilirubin is what? Bilirubin is formed by the degradation of heme. Now this bilirubin, the nature of bilirubin is it is highly lipophilic in nature. Lipophilic means attracted towards lipids, or its structure is similar to that, so that it is not soluble in water. So obviously it requires a carrier protein, and that carrier protein is albumin. So bilirubin is transported to the liver via albumin, and in the liver it undergoes a very important process, which is conjugation with glucouronic acid. And then this conjugate bilirubin is excreted in the bile. And when it is excreted in the bile, it degrades to form urobilinogen and strecobilinogen. Urobilinogen, urobilin, or it gives characteristic color to urine, and strecobilinogen or strecobilin, it gives a characteristic color to feces. So the degradation of bilirubin is very important. Now this is again a very good picture where you can see this is how degradation of heme takes place. By hemoglobin, by the erythroid cells, or by the heme proteins. Once this heme is produced, this heme is actually degraded to form biliviridin, which forms bilirubin. The name of the enzyme which is forming biliviridin, it is heme oxygenase. And the enzyme which is degrading biliviridin into bilirubin, it is actually reduction, biliviridin reductase. Now, as I told you, this bilirubin is a lipophilic molecule, so it will bind with albumin to form a indirect unconjugate bilirubin. This is again a very important step. When this albumin takes this bilirubin, it leads bilirubin inside the liver. And in the liver, it undergoes conjugation with glucouronic acid, which is synthesized in our body by uronic acid pathway, an alternative method of oxidation of glucose. So as you can see, when it undergoes you can say conjugation, it forms bilirubin diglucouronic. And this is known as, since it has undergone conjugation, so this bilirubin will be known as conjugate bilirubin. Very important. And bilirubin, when it is outside the liver, since it has not undergone conjugation, it will be unconjugate bilirubin. So by this slide, you should try to understand the difference between unconjugate and conjugate. Conjugate means it has undergone conjugation, and unconjugate means it has not undergone conjugation. Then once this bilirubin diglucouronic is present, it will be forming urobilinogen and strecobilinogen. This urobilinogen, some part of it will be sent back to liver. And this type of circulation is known as enterohepatic circulation. On the other hand, this urobilinogen is forming urobilin, which is being excreted, which is giving a characteristic color to urine. Same is the case with strecobilinogen, which forms strecobilin, which gives characteristic color to the feces. So this is how you can say degradation of heme is accomplished. Heme, then biliviridin, then bilirubin, then urobilinogen, strecobilinogen, and then the respective compounds which are giving characteristic color to the urine and feces. And this is again a very good picture in which you can see this is how, the entire process is occurring. You can see in the intestines, this strecobilinogen is produced. In the kidneys, this urobilin is produced. And this is what is the unconjugate bilirubin, which is outside. And when it undergoes conjugation, it forms a conjugate bilirubin. This is how it is excreted in the bile. So plasma bilirubin is actually containing both unconjugate as well as conjugate bilirubin. And this is the normal concentration of bilirubin in the plasma. If we talk about unconjugate, it is 0.1 to 0.6 mg per dl per 100 ml of blood. Conjugate is 0.1 to 0.4 and total is 0.2 to 1.4 milligram per 100 ml of blood. Now, when the bilirubin level exceeds 2 milligram per dl, yellowish coloration, very, very important, yellowish discoloration of sclera is there, which results into jaundice. And this measure is known as the Icteric's index. When the concentration of bilirubin will exceed 2 milligram per dl. And this is how you can see yellowish color of the sclera is there. Now, how we detect different type of jaundice, this is very, very important because we are performing liver function tests. So, jaundice can be hemolytic jaundice, which is prehepatic. It is hepatocellular or hepatic jaundice, or it can be obstructive jaundice or post-hepatic jaundice. So we have to actually, we need to have a standardized measure which can distinguish between these three types of jaundice, because every type of jaundice will have different biochemical manifestations. So there has to be a test, and the test is known as Vandenberg test or Vandenberg reaction. It is the specific test for identification of increased bilirubin levels. And normal serum obviously will give a negative Vandenberg reaction. Now, what is the principle, rationale behind this? This reagent is actually a mixture of sulfanilic acid in dilute HCl with sodium nitrite. The mixture is sulfanilic, or it is diazotized sulfanilic acid. And what is the principle? This diazotized sulfanilic acid actually react with the amount of bilirubin to form a purple color azobilirubin. It's a dye, purple color dye is produced. Now see what happens is, just now I told you there are two different type of bilirubin. One is conjugate bilirubin, another is unconjugate bilirubin. Unconjugate is, you can say, before the entering into the liver, and unconjugate is inside the liver once it is entered. So I told you what is Vandenberg reaction, ki this diazotized sulfanilic acid will with sodium nitrite, it is going to react with the serum. So what happens is, if the coloration appears immediately within no time, we call it a direct positive reaction. Means the reaction is positive, coloration is there, and we are adding nothing, we are simply reacting serum with this. So it is direct positive reaction. So the serum is having what? Conjugate bilirubin, because conjugate bilirubin has a tendency to react immediately. Now if coloration does not appear immediately, means we have to add methanol into it. So the function of this methanol is, it will come, because unconjugate bilirubin, I told you that bilirubin is a lipophilic molecule or lipid-like nature. So it is actually dissolvable in these non-polar solvents only. So if coloration is not appearing immediately, we immediately add methyl alcohol. So whatever amount of unconjugate bilirubin is there, it will be solubilized in methyl alcohol. So again, it will give a positive reaction, but positive reaction after addition of methyl alcohol. So it is indirect. So we call it as indirect positive reaction. So in indirect, there will be increase in unconjugate bilirubin. And suppose what happens is, if coloration is there, but it intensifies on the addition of methyl alcohol, it will be a biphasic reaction, means it will give both. So that we can come to the conclusion that serum has both unconjugate bilirubin and conjugate bilirubin. So this is how we are differentiating between hemolytic jaundice right? And then we are depicting obstructive jaundice or we are depicting the hepatic jaundice. So let's take up these. So bilirubin as such is insoluble while the conjugate bilirubin is soluble. So that is why indirect positive test will be given in hemolytic jaundice. Why? Because there will be increase in unconjugate bilirubin, right? Direct positive obstructive jaundice, there will be increase in what? Conjugate bilirubin. And biphasic means ki either there will be increase in unconjugate plus conjugate. So this is how we differentiate. Then bilirubin, the conjugate bilirubin being water soluble is excreted in urine and unconjugate bilirubin is not excreted. Then further bilirubin in urine can be detected by Fauchett's or Mellin tests. So this is the interpretation of Vandenberg reaction. Again, I am telling you very, very important. Direct positive, obstructive jaundice, indirect positive, hemolytic jaundice, and hepatic is biphasic jaundice. Now let's take up these. Now urobilinogen is also being produced in urine. So it is absorbed, just now I told you, it is absorbed into portal circulation and is re-excreted by the liver in the bile. This is known as enterohepatic circulation. Some part of it escapes from the liver into the systemic circulation and it is excreted in urine. So normal urine, if we talk about, it has a very small content of urobilinogen, but it do has. Then we come over to different type of jaundice. First of all, we are going to take up hemolytic jaundice. Now see, hemolytic jaundice means the increase is in unconjugate bilirubin. That is why it is known as, because it has not entered in the liver. That is why it is prehepatic or unconjugate hyperbilirubinemia. So what are the basic biochemical manifestations? First is obviously serum unconjugate bilirubin is increased. Then urine, bile salts and bile pigments will be negative. So it is also called as echloric jaundice. But there will be more and more production of urobilinogen in urine. And if we talk about trichobilinogen, the motion is dark brown in color. The color of the feces will be dark brown. So this is what is hemolytic jaundice. Then what are the inborn errors related to this hemolytic jaundice? One is Gilbert syndrome, which is the most common hereditary cause of increased bilirubin. And obviously it is characterized by elevated levels of unconjugate bilirubin. The deficient enzyme is glucouranoid transferase. Then second is Crigler-Najjar syndrome. It is a very rare autosomal recessive disorder. Again, the concentration of unconjugate bilirubin will be there. And the enzyme is UDP, glucouranoid transferase. So this is what is hemolytic jaundice. Second is obstructive jaundice or post-hepatic jaundice. Obstructive jaundice mein there will be increase in the conjugate bilirubin. So obviously bile salts and bile pigments will be positive, but urobilinogen in urine either will be in lesser amounts or it will be absent. And if we talk about the color of the feces, it will be clay colored. And the inborn errors of metabolism are Dubin-Johnson syndrome, 1, and Rotor syndrome. The difference is what? In this increase of conjugate is there defective secretion of conjugate bilirubin in the bile. And here, it is similar to that except the liver cells are not pigmented. In Dubin-Johnson syndrome, the liver cells show pigmentation also. So this is what is obstructive jaundice. Then hepatic jaundice, it is also known as a biphasic jaundice. Biphasic because there is increase in both unconjugate as well as conjugate. Urine, bile salts, pigments are positive. Urobilinogen is lesser or normal and motion is pale yellow colored. Hepatic jaundice, the major causal organisms, yeah, you can say major causative reagents are alcoholic hepatitis, viral hepatitis, and drug-induced intrahepatic cholestasis. Then this is a very good slide, a comparative slide, which is actually distinguishing between different type of jaundice and the level of these. If you talk about serum bilirubin, unconjugate, all of us know unconjugate bilirubin will increase in this and it will be normal. Conjugate bilirubin will be raised in this, it will be normal. If we talk about bile pigments, you can see absent, present, present. Urobilinogen, it is raised, normal or decreased or absent. And bile salts, absent, present, present. So this is a very good comparative slide between different type of jaundice. Then the detection of urobilinogen in urine is by Ehrlich test. And bile salts are detected by Hayes sulfur powder test, and bile pigments are detected by Fauchett's and Mellin tests. These are again very, very important questions asked in the exam. Then we come over to another very important function, synthetic function, or you can say estimation of serum proteins. So there has to be a ratio which is albumin to globulin ratio. And it is understood if albumin is low, the concentration of albumin is less, the globulins would be more. And best thing is that these albumin is you can say synthesis of albumin is wholly solely the function of liver. And it has a half-life of this. And it is a good marker to assess chronic liver damage. Which is actually, see, if liver is damaged, if there is any hepatocellular damage, albumin won't be synthesized. Low serum albumin is commonly observed in patients with severe liver damage. And albumin is also decreased in malnutrition too. And then in liver cirrhosis, there is a reversal of albumin globulin ratio. And if we see, they can be separated only by electrophoresis. Then another important aspect, enzymes. Jaise I told you ki all the biochemical functions, synthetic, metabolic, everything is occurring in the liver. Or every biochemical reaction is catalyzed by enzymes. So obviously there will be increase in the concentration of the enzymes in the serum if there is any hepatocellular damage. Let's say, for example, if we talk about ALT and AST. ALT is SGPT, which is also a marker of liver diseases. AST, which is SGOT, which is actually a marker of MI, but in viral hepatitis, both of them increases. ALP, alkaline phosphatase, a very, very important enzyme, phosphatase, which increases in obstructive jaundice, which increases in bone diseases also, and different carcinoma of liver. Then gamma GGT, glutamyl transpeptidase. It is a marker of, sensitive marker of alcoholic hepatitis or alcoholic abuse. And obviously cholestatic liver diseases. Then LDH is not a very, important enzyme, or diagnosis of LDH is not carried out because it leads to, it is a marker of MI also. So in liver, it does not play a very important role. Then pseudocholinesterase, it decreases in infectious hepatitis and in metastatic carcinoma of liver, it is found. Then 5' nucleotidase, it is similar to ALP, but they have a parallel mechanism. So these are the list of different enzymes present in the serum, which again are a very important component of LFTs. Then the tests for detoxification mechanism, or detoxifying process in liver, that is hippuric acid test. Hippuric acid is actually generally produced in the body when benzoate combines with glycine. So what we do is actually 6 grams of sodium benzoate is given to the patient and urine is corrected up to 4 hours. And the estimation of excretion of hippuric acid is detected. And it is said that 6 grams of sodium benzoate, if it is given, it should form 7.5 grams of hippuric acid. Right? Now, decreased hippuric acid secretion, 3 grams, indicate the damage to the liver cells. So, hippuric acid is one of the very, very important tests for detecting the detoxification reactions of liver. Then PT, prothrombin, again a very important plasma protein which helps in blood clotting also, because the liver synthesizes all the factors concerned with blood clotting. So obviously if there will be decrease in the concentration of these clotting factors, it will be simple hepatocellular damage. And it is seen prothrombin time is prolonged in patients with liver damage compared to the normal one. So this is again a very, very important component of LFTs. Then BSP test. This is also a very unique test. And this is actually a dye which is taken up from circulation by liver, and it is conjugated and is excreted in bile. So what we do is BSP is injected intravenously in this test. So rate of removal of BSP from blood, it is a sensitive indicator of this hepatobiliary function. Then one more test is there, which is also known as galactose tolerance test. BSP test is done after an overnight fast, and 5% BSP solution is injected intravenously in the dose of 5 milligram per kg of body weight. Then blood samples are collected after 3 and 45 minutes after the injection. So we can you can say change in the coloration by, you can say, evaluating this, we can say that the liver is damaged. Another important test is galactose tolerance test. So these are some of the tests which are the components of LFTs. The most important out of these is that depends, if we are estimating the serum bilirubin, or we are estimating the serum proteins, or we are estimating the detoxifying reactions by liver, or we are estimating certain sensitive tests. So this is all about these liver function tests. Right? I hope this topic is clear to you. In my next video, I am going to take up a renal function test. Again, very, very important. Thanks a lot. Take care.